It's been like a dream of mine to be in the Jurassic family forever. I grew up watching the Jurassic Park movies. One of my first memories of going to the theater was going to see the first Jurassic Park. I think I was like probably 10 or 11, and it was completely mind-blowing. I mean, it was mind-blowing for everybody because the technology that was used to create, all of the visual effects were all brand new, and none audiences had never seen anything like that. Gareth has an incredible visual vocabulary. He can see the whole film in his mind. And you know that because you see him often going like this. He's like really thinking things through all the time because I feel the film is like playing in his mind, which is amazing. And he's operating the Steadicam himself, and he's really, he has, I think his strength is really in his, imagination. He has like an incredibly, beautifully organized imagination that like when you talk to him about how a scene's gonna how a scene will play out or like what happened before these circumstances right now, he leads you through the story like as if you're watching a film. I think Zora is impressed by Loomis. He is incredibly enthusiastic and passionate and has so much information. I think as she gets to know him better, she understands more of his values, which I think she's impressed by. She calls him an adrenaline junkie. He's actually like a very adventurous person, which I think she likes about him. It's like, okay, a bunch of people on this Jurassic Island, like, let's get out, right? It is just, it is a thriller imagine yourself in this circumstance, in this island, you are trapped. Like, how do you survive? It's like a survival story, which I think is very fresh. They're like the stuff of nightmares. I actually think they're almost too scary. And yeah, I think they're going to blow everybody's minds. I mean, that's certainly when you ask, like, what have we not seen before? The dinosaurs in this film are like nothing you've ever seen before. I don't even know how to describe the scope of this film because it starts off in one place that is so different than where it ends up. It's like, it starts out in this urban jungle, and then we're on the water for this period of time that becomes just a total, it's like Jaws had a baby with Jurassic or something like that. And the movie is just this giant spectacle. It really is it's as big as the dinosaurs that we're collecting dino samples from. It's just like, it's huge.
Jurassic World Rebirth is about a sort of a special ops group that goes on a clandestine mission to recover blood samples from 3 different types of dinosaurs, the largest on Earth: air, sea, and land. But that mission is sort of interrupted by an accident. Duncan Kincaid is, I kind of think of him as a pirate, like a modern day pirate, with a good heart, with good intentions. He lives and works off the grid, and he's formerly U.S. military, a Navy SEAL. Now he's sort of working as a captain, and again, living off the grid, sort of in like Central South America. And Zora, our lead character, Scarlett Johansson, she reaches out to Duncan from time to time when she needs some work being done off the books. I feel like they've done a wonderful job of not only having like all the necessary archetypes of a great action adventure script, but having like the right people in place so that the best qualities of all those archetypes can kind of come out, and those elements and energies can really mix together to do the job of telling a story. I really enjoyed seeing Gareth work to tell an epic story. Like this is a hard job, and there's so many bits and pieces and things to think about, and he seems to handle it with relative ease. I know he's stressed, but he wears it well. He wears it really well. And he's around a bunch of actors who have a lot of questions and are always, in a healthy way, I think, poking holes in things with the intention of trying to make it feel real and cohesive. And I feel like he's handled and managed the personalities and the skill sets really wonderfully. I had just so many questions, and I'm just always curious as to how something is going to unfold and come together. But I could feel the propulsiveness of the story. It never sits too long. So whether it was on land or sea, what was important was that it was pushing forward, like moving along, and things were happening, and decisions and tough choices had to be made throughout.
Jurassic World Rebirth is a film that questions humanity's role in the natural world, especially with scientific advancements. And it asks that brilliant question of, just because we can, should we? And I think, obviously, for anyone who loves the original Jurassic films and the films that followed, and anyone who loves the natural world, and if anyone who's curious about how we're moving forward in terms of us as humans, this is the movie for you. I think that the mutated dinosaurs, are fascinating and make for an original viewing, but they also comment on, I think, humanity's need to push the boundaries consistently in a very unnatural way, in a quite selfish manner. I think Henry is really intrigued by Zora. Has never met anyone like her, but also he, I think, seems to be, in a sort of animal sense, quite empathetic, and he picks up on the fact that she's obviously experienced some really dark things, and she's roped in for this final mission, obviously, because of the money. And in the hands of Scarlett Johansson, I think she's a bit of an icon. And they do really click, and they click not only because they're inherently good people, but there's, I think, a real fascination, and it's to do with a very sort of apparent opposing interests and motives. Mahershala plays Duncan Kincaid, and he is just, I think he's just a completely magical human, and he roots Duncan Kincaid in a way that sort of allows you to understand the sort of grief and his past sort of experiences, and he brings that right in front and centre, really, I think, and it's all in such sharp focus. But yeah, he's a very sort of, he fills the character with sort of empathy and also shares a bit of Henry's wonder, I think. The sheer scale of it is actually in the simplicity of the story and the huge sort of passionate questions it asks within that. It's a very simple mission. They need to extract DNA from 3 dinosaurs, and they meet those 3 dinosaurs. And there are a couple of extras along the way.
It has adventure, it has friendship and loyalty and the betrayal of those things. It has an almost impossible task that you just root for everyone to complete. It has family, it has friendship, it has, as you would expect, the meeting of the animal and human worlds, and a completely viable plot. Krebs' job is to move in the shadows between the sort of FDA world of drug testing and financing that, and the slightly less, perhaps legal world of how such materials might be obtained. So he's the one with the little black book who has Zora, Scarlett's character, on speed dial, and he has Loomis, the scientist, also in his contacts, and is able to put together a team of people to go and do this incredibly dangerous mission. There's always an iconic vehicle in Jurassic movies, and I was so excited that I think I might be the only one who gets to ride it. I am, yeah. I think I'm the only one who gets to drive it. And it is somewhere between a tank and a Humvee. And I think they took the innards out of like a Chevy Suburban, like a big old kind of SUV thing. And then the guys went to town on the outside and made this crazy badass thing, which looks like you could drive it into a redwood and the redwood would just go. And then we slipped and slided all around on the mud in the middle of a forest in Thailand for a night, which is, again, just unabashedly great fun. Zora is played by Scarlett Johansson, who is one of my dearest friends, which was the other reason why doing this job was so exciting, because I don't think I've ever had that before, where someone says you already know that you're great friends with your co-star. So that was a given. But even though we'd been in 2 films together prior to that, we'd never acted in the same scenes. We were just in different storylines. So knowing that we were part of this gang was a delight.
I played Ruben Delgado, and it's we find him first. We're introduced to this family, and they're making this trip on his beloved boat, La Mariposa. And he's doing this trip with his daughters, and it's kind of like, he has this thing where his daughter is, she's a teenager, and she's about to go to college. And, dads and teenagers don't have a very good relationship sometimes, and, it's kind of like and he's doing this as a goodbye to her, and trying to, I guess, bond, and yeah, they go to this trip, and they've been doing it all their lives, and then some misfortunes happen in the trip, and we end up in this extreme situation where a group of people, unknown people that have a very specific mission, rescue us. I was so excited to be part of this, Jurassic Park, of course, it transformed, and it really impacted my life. It really did. That movie, I remember I had everything about Jurassic Park, the lunchbox, everything about it. And so to be part of that, and plus, they tell you, one of the biggest stars on the planet, Scarlett Johansson, is going to be in it. And, it's a huge part. And Mahershala, I'm such a fan. And, it's just great. It's just been fun on set. It's just been very fun and joking around. And I think that helps us as a family to be, to have that chemistry and that bonding. And again, Audrina is something special. Like everything, when she's on set, everything, it happens around her, her games, and then she puts us like in a mood that it's so helpful for the chemistry of the family.
Jurassic World Rebirth is a film about courage, I want to say, and honestly fighting for the people you love, fighting against the craziest odds you could ever even imagine, a situation that nobody ever wants to be in, but it's kind of when you get put into these situations, it's seriously like a fight or flight, because you're gonna fight until the very, very end. We have literally been in the trenches together at this point, physically and literally. It was a really crazy experience, and one that I will never, ever, ever forget. And myself and Audrina and Manuel and David, us 4 have been together practically every single day for the last 4 months. And so you create a bond with those people for sure. Gareth is so easy. He's so easy, and he's so just open to ideas, and he's so like free, but he also knows exactly what he wants, and he knows how he's gonna get it, and his eye is just unbelievable. Same with John Matheson. Like they know exactly what they want, and they know how they're gonna get it, and it's really, really cool to see people so just like enthralled in their own craft. And again, I feel like this whole thing is, there has to be a method to the madness, because it is madness. It is crazy what we're doing here, but they know how they're gonna, they know how they're gonna do it. And Gareth has known how he's gonna do it from the very, very, very beginning, and he's definitely been a warrior through this whole thing and the leader of the ship for sure.
There's this big pharmaceutical company that's trying to go get this medicine that can be made out of the blood of these 3 species of dinosaurs that only still exist on this one small location in the middle of nowhere. And yeah, despite the fact that dinosaurs didn't really respond very well to the global environment, they're still trying to make use of them. And so on their way there, they accidentally run into a family that has nothing to do with dinosaurs and doesn't really want anything to do with dinosaurs, but they are met with dinosaurs. The Delgados, they're this family that has a very simple, kind of wholesome goal in the movie. It's just they're going on a trip. The oldest daughter, Teresa, is going to college soon, and her father, Ruben, is kind of trying to have this one last fruitful experience and memory made with her and their younger daughter, Isabella. It's wholesome, it's beautiful. And then there's Teresa's boyfriend that's crashing the trip. It's your classic, like, boyfriend that doesn't really have a care in the world, that is sleeping all of the time, that is annoying. We were on the Essex the other day, and I'm sitting across from Scarlett, who has really been so lovely and like almost taken me under her wing and stuff, just like on screen and off screen, just like such a humble person. But I'm sitting across from her, and we're in the scene, and I'm trying to focus, but I'm looking at her, I'm like, I grew up watching this person, you know what I mean? Like, you have these surreal moments where it's like, yeah, this is now my friend, and they're so lovely, and they're like an important part of my life now, but also, I gotta snap myself out of it, because it's like I grew up watching this person, and I grew up respecting this person's craft. So to have her be there, to have Mahershala after the take tell me that I did a good job and tell me that I was funny, like, it's priceless. It's actually priceless, and I'm very grateful. Johnny's like hysterical, makes me laugh between takes so much so where I have to like be like, dude, I'm about to go. Can you please like stop making me laugh?
So when you meet our family, the Delgados, we are on a sailboat trying to just go on a boat sail because it's my sister, she's going to college. And so just one last trip. And then all of a sudden we get hit by a mosasaur, but we don't know it's a mosasaur. And then it capsizes, and then the story goes on from there. So the people that are on the boat with me is my dad, Ruben Delgado, and then my sister, Teresa Delgado, and then Teresa's boyfriend, which is Xavier Dobbs. And I think our family dynamic is I really am close to my dad, and I'm just right by him all the time, connected to the hip. And with my sister, I feel like the story tells me I'm looking up to her a lot. She teaches me lots of stuff. And then her boyfriend, I do not like him, is the thing in the story, that I don't like him whatsoever. So I was attracted to this dinosaur, and we were sleeping on this tree trunk, and it just happened to like crawl along, and I wasn't fully asleep because I was still scared. And I had some licorice, so I fed it some licorice. It came back for more licorice, and then I think it kept following us everywhere we went. It's itty bitty. It's very small, and enough to fit in my backpack, enough for me to carry it like a baby. Super cute. So, and I think the reason why our relationship is so good, I think, is because it's kind of like a pet dog for me.
If Spielberg hadn't worked on this script with David, I would have felt like really guilty about making this film, because there's so many elements in it for me that are like, you know, I'd say they're love letters to Stephen's early work. You know, there's things in it where I feel like, oh, that's an opportunity to do a bit of Jaws. You know, that's an opportunity to do a little bit of Raiders of the Lost Ark or something, or that style. And I grew up, you know, obviously, like a lot of people in the industry, I just grew up loving Steven Spielberg and fantasizing, you know, in your mind, one day you might get to meet him or something. Like the idea of actually doing a Jurassic film for Steven is so surreal. Like you can't really think about it. It actually paralyzes me thinking about it. I mean, really, it was a case of like, it's like casting a film. You, rather than saying, okay, the script says this, describes the location as this, let's go and find one that's like that. You sort of go, okay, close that for a second. Let's just go to this country and look at the area and just look for anything amazing and then see where that could live in these scenes, right? I really wanted the film to have that little nostalgia to that feeling of watching the original Jurassic Park, you know, and, you know, obviously that was shot on film and so I just wanted to feel as cinematic as possible. And so the idea, like, I felt like this is my chance, you know, we've got a massive crew, they're all people who've shot on film before, like if I don't do it now, I might never, you know, actually have made a film in my career. And so I saw this as like, this is my chance to do it, and I just held on to it for dear life, like, I'm not going to give this one up. And it was quite a thing, but eventually, yeah, it all went ahead, and I'm so glad. So our film is set on an island where it was like the R&D for the original Jurassic Park. And essentially what they were doing was playing with the genetics of the dinosaurs to try and make more interesting dinosaurs for the audiences. And obviously some of that went wrong, and some of it went very wrong, and a terrible thing happened, and this whole island was abandoned. And but there's something very valuable there that's worth a lot of money to a pharmaceutical company. And so our characters go on this mission to essentially go get these genetic samples, and it all goes a bit wrong from there. Scarlett's kind of like the full package. Like, you know, there's not really anything she doesn't do really well. She's like super smart. She's got really good instincts about storytelling, and she's a really good ally in that sometimes where you like, if there's ever like an issue, you're niggling in the back of your head where you're like, I'm not sure about this idea, or I don't know how to do this in a way that's, when she comes to set, she'll normally go, hey Gareth, it's really cool and everything. There's just one little thing here. And it'd be like, yeah, I'm glad you said that, because I was thinking exactly the same thing. And she's like, well, what if we do this? Or what if we do that? And it's like, so really, like from a storytelling point of view, like it's really great to have an actress who, and she's a filmmaker as well, so to have an actress who not only is fantastic, but also knows, you know, you're ultimately telling a story, and like you're trying to lead the audience into this thing over here. Kincaid's kind of like our Ahab of the movie, Quint, if it was Jaws, you know, he's kind of a mercenary pirate type who, I think he's probably a gun smuggler in his everyday work, but on this occasion he's taking Zora to this island on his boat, the Essex, and it's an area of the world that it's illegal to go to these places, and so you kind of have to do it covertly, and so he's a bit dodgy, but he's also, like, as you learn about him and what he's been through, and you start to like feel for him and care about him and want him to do well. And Mahershala, who obviously plays Kincaid, like, is phenomenal. There's so much depth to, you could get Mahershala to just, you know, read the ingredients of a chocolate bar, and it would make you like well up.
This film is a little bit different than the other films because it's a mission journey for the main characters. The mission is to obtain the DNA from 3 of the largest dinosaurs, land, sea, and air. And so our team goes on this mission to this island which is situated around the equator, to find and obtain the DNA from these 3 giant dinosaurs. The scope of the movie is gigantic, both in the production and in the story. The story is huge. It goes across this big island. There's water, sea, air, rapids, cliffs, tunnels, mangroves. What David Koepp brought to this story, just like he had in the original Jurassic Park, was humor and scares. And I think he also put us in a unique situation with the characters that you have not seen before. It's a new storyline. It's a rebirth of the original movie.
I would say Jurassic World Rebirth is the story of this group of people who form a team with varying motives, who go off on a very perilous journey to recover DNA samples in order to synthesize a drug that's going to fundamentally change and improve human life. So it's their struggle to benefit humankind despite the awesome dangers that they're going to face. One of the first things Stephen and I said when we started working on the story for this was, we got to get that raft sequence in someplace. And it made sense in our story because they have to get from here to here, and they're, and everything about it. I mean, I wrote it from the book, and I don't think the sequence as it appears in the film is very different from what Mr. Crichton wrote on the page 30 years ago. It's the T-Rex is there. They hear a buzzing sound. It's flies. It turns out, why is it flies? Well, there's a dead hadrosaur. Why is there a dead hadrosaur? Because that T-Rex was eating it, and now he's sleeping it off. Which is just a great suspense idea. You got the raft is there. You got to get at the thing. The T-Rex is asleep. Don't wake it up. It's all the elements for a really great suspense sequence are there. Gareth has a mind that is completely different from mine. He can visualize things. He can visualize things that are really spectacular, just fantastic images. But what makes him a gifted director is he can not only visualize them, he can figure out how to bring them to reality. And that's the line that separates somebody who's kind of good from somebody who's really terrific.